no hell hinges on the idea that love is about helping people feel better. And I don't think that's the case. I don't see that in what Jesus taught. And again, let's evaluate what they're actually saying truthfully. If that's the case, that there is no consequences, or the consequences are not eternal, then we need to think about it from God's perspective, because we don't understand as human beings just how painful the cross was, how bearing the sins of the world was for Jesus. And think about it, is it fair for Christ to have borne the sins of the world and then for people to go to heaven anyway?
Yeah, it seems to make the cross invalid. I mean, it's just like not necessary, right?
All it is the cross. Jesus suffered on the cross so that we don't have to, people who go to hell don't have to go there for eternity. They could just go there for some time, and then they do their due diligence, and then they get to heaven. But that doesn't sound like the message of the gospel that the disciples were sharing, that we could be saved from an eternal punishment. And think about it this way too. Hell, if you really think about it, is not just about the fire and the brimstone and the worms. It's about an eternal separation from God.
Yeah.
And why is there eternal separation from God? Because the human heart has an eternal rebellion for God. And Lewis again says it this way: heaven and hell is when hell, your worst characteristics about what your relationship with God is actualized. And you're always in constant rebellion because that's what your heart naturally is. When we go to heaven, the reason why it's heaven is because Jesus is there.
Yeah.
And I truly believe when we all get there, and that's why Scripture says in Revelations, every knee will bow and every tongue will confess that Jesus is Lord, because we'll finally see his majesty in full purview, and we'll know that we have to bow down on our knees. And it will be heaven for those of us who get a chance and who have an opportunity to live with him forever. And it will be hell because we won't be, those people who won't be.
Yeah, and I guess we could debate all day exactly what hell is like in the physical side of it, but I do believe it's physical, just like I believe that heaven is physical and is eternal, because the same word is used in describing heaven as is used describing hell as well.
There's a great book. There's a great book that I would encourage people to read who are interested in that, called The Great Divorce, again by C.S. Lewis. And it's a story about how people from hell are bussed into heaven. They take a bus and they go to heaven and they do a little tour.
Wow.
And as they're walking around, heaven is too real for them. So when they walk on the grass, it feels like they're walking on nails, like sharp nails pointing up, because it's just too painful. When they hear the birds singing or the music, or when they see the wonderful colors in heaven, it's just too much for their senses. So they all jump back on the bus and go back to hell. And Lewis is making a good, but I think Lewis is making exactly the same point I'm making. People are in hell because that's where the human heart, the human condition naturally resides. And if we're not regenerated, then there's no way we can ever come to heaven.
Yeah, it's almost like a default place. Okay, let's take some calls here. Gary from British Columbia, you're on the air here with Jojo Ruba. Hi.
Yeah, hi, thanks, Paul.
Hi
I was, the business of faith and like belief in God and, that kind of thing, it's like there are subtle things in nature that I look at, and I think God has made it this way to point us that there is something more. Like, for example, the Son of God is faithful, and he gives us life and everything. And if you take the S-U-N, the sun rises every day. It's faithful to rise. It gives us life, that kind of thing. The Holy, the fact that you mentioned the Trinity. I mean, I look at an egg. An egg is, the shell, the white, and the yolk, right? And that's a trinity of sort, And I mean, to me, God could be in some manner that way. I mean, they're like, okay, they're all separate, but yet they're one.
Yeah, there's actually been some books written on that, the various principles of the 3 in 1. So many things are created that way,
Yeah, and then I think of space, right? Why is space there? And to me, I don't know where I got this, but someone said, okay, it's for, time, seasons, and to show forth the glory of God. And so then I was thinking, can you imagine, like, if we went out a couple of trillion miles and there was a hard, reflective surface? What would that do to man? I mean, it would change their whole perspective. But, I think they would start thinking, like, what is at the end here, and why is that at the end, and does that mean that we've been placed here by something, or? But that would just screw it all up. To me, God keeps expanding space. We'll never find the end, and it keeps us all wondering. But it's that subtleness of you have to believe in something, if you're going to believe in God, if he just appeared to you and said, I'm God and everything, that would just take your choice, your freedom of choice to me away, because you'd automatically believe, oh, of course, he appeared to me, right?
Yeah, that's interesting. I guess that's one of the arguments we do here as well. You know, if God is God, why doesn't he get down here and grab a bullhorn and grab a TV and let us all know, show himself to us, and we're you know, what's the journey of faith all about? Why do we need that, right? And does it come down to choice?
Well, my response to that is he did.
Yes,
right? He came
yes.
as the form of a man named Jesus. Just before I forget, Gary, I think there's a great few articles on this, but there's a man named Guillermo Gonzalez who actually studied eclipses. And when he looked at eclipses, if you look at a full solar eclipse, I think it's a solar eclipse, the moon covers the sun. And if you think about that, the moon fully covers the sun, even though the sizes of these objects are so radically different. But they're just the right spot in space so they can cover each other. And not only that, when that happens, scientists were able to discover the color spectrum. So we can know the different colors of different elements when that instant the moon covers the sun. In other words, this information, this knowledge is accessible to people who can actually access it because these two bodies in space somehow are able to cover each other up. In other words, this information is available to the spot in the universe where the people who can actually access this information exists. This doesn't seem like random blind chance to me. But I think in terms of the bigger point, you know, God communicates as much as we need to know. I think it's like when I'm talking to my little nephew who's 1, I can try to explain as much as possible to him, because there's a lot of things I know that he doesn't, but he won't get it anyway. And if God were to appear suddenly in all his glory here on earth, there's so much we wouldn't understand, because our minds are limited, even though God's isn't. God gave us, I believe, just like with the example of the eclipse, enough information so that we can trust him with the lives that we have. Remember, it wasn't God who had to shut off communication. It was our sin that threw us out of the garden of the garden in proper relationship with God. Christ's sacrifice on the cross brought us back into proper relationship. But we're still fallen human beings. We're still sinners. That means we still have limitations because of the choices we've made.
Okay. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it, Gary. All right. Again, the email, or pardon, the website, I want you to jot down here, faithbeyondbelief.ca. Again, it's hard to cover all this stuff in an hour show for sure, but you can certainly invite Jojo down to your neck of the woods to speak at a church or a school. Faithbeyondbelief.ca. John emails, says, a great show today, Paul. Advice from your guest for debating the whole is homosexuality wrong issue. Yeah, okay. He wants to know how to talk about this intelligently. Thanks, John, because this does come up again a lot. And you know, and again, I think as Christians sometimes we come across as picking on one sin and labeling it as
Absolutely.
you know this the only sin in the world sort of thing, right? So we have to be careful with that as well. But
well, it goes back to who are you talking to. When it comes to, for example, these big debates and these big denominations that are splitting up over the ordination of homosexuals. The debate really there isn't about homosexuality. The debate there is about whether the Bible has authority.
Exactly.
Because if the Bible has authority, then it's clear what it says about proper relationships between men and women. If you're debating someone who's not a Christian, then I wouldn't use Scripture at that point. I would try to use some good arguments in terms of something they would not be able to understand as secular people. For example, if you think about it, marriage is the first society that children have access to. And as every kind of human being, I would argue, they need to know how to have proper relationship between both people of the opposite gender and the same gender as they have. So if they're taken, their access to that is taken away, and we're saying that either gender is interchangeable, then we're actually harming that child from being able to learn how to relate adequately to both. That's a simple argument you can raise. That is something that's logical, and you could be proven wrong about it, but I think it's commonsensical. Everyone needs to learn how to relate to both men and women. And the first society that you're able to do that is in a marriage relationship.
Yeah, I mean, there's just the basics of that, even some of the health issues as well. Yeah. I mean, you don't want to maybe get into it too much, but there's lots of statistics there as well to back that up, you know, which are healthy choices. And I guess the argument comes up again, are you born that way or not?
Right, and I think part of it goes back to, as Christians, we need to think about, and this is what I do when I do apologetics or have a conversation that's difficult, is I ask God, Lord, show me how I can love this person today. Mm-hmm. What is it that I can say or do that's the most loving in this even brief conversation, or if it's a relationship that I have, say a coworker or a friend, what do I need to say at this moment, at this time? What can I accomplish by God's Holy Spirit and His wisdom to be able to do that? And sometimes I can't do much, and I just have to leave a little pebble in the shoe. One of my favorite sayings is that I was driving from Calgary to Banff once, and I realized 10 minutes into the drive that I had a pebble stuck in my shoe. And it was on the accelerator foot. So the only way to get it out was to stop the car, which I didn't have time to. So I'm driving through this beautiful scenery, the Rockies and the mountains and the trees, and guess what I was thinking about? Getting that pebble off my shoe. And that's, I think, what good ambassadors have to do, because sometimes that's all we can do. In a conversation like this, it's difficult because most people think we hate homosexuals as Christians, when in fact, we're supposed to love them because God loves them. And like I said before, love is not just about making people feel better, it's helping them to become better. In fact, to be transformed to the image of Jesus.
That's good. It's good.
Right? So the question we need to ask with this person, if it's a good friend or if it's just a coworker, a close, short conversation, is what pebble can I leave in their shoe so they can walk away?
We'll have to leave it there.
Absolutely.
Jojo Ruba, faithbeyondbelief.ca. Check it out. He's an excellent speaker. Would be in your church as well. Thanks, Jojo. Hey, appreciate all your calls and emails. Tomorrow we're going to talk with Ken Ham, and again about the Bible. Can we trust the Bible? Bible contradictions? Well, we'll talk about that tomorrow.